Hi, so we're starting week 3. To be perfectly honest, obviously getting up early on a Monday morning, getting ready to muck the stables out before work, to open a door and to see that. To perfectly honest, I'm like, really? But he's no dirtier than normal, but for some strange reason, psychologically to me, that looks an absolute mess and a nightmare to muck out. Whereas previously with the wood pellets, all I was doing is literally just scooping the poop off the top, shaking the pellets out, the soaked pellet mix off the fork, and away we go. So it'll be interesting to see how we get on this week. I'm going to put the third bale in so the bed is a bit deeper. So I'm just going to walk over to the wet patch where my foot is. Hold on. So you can see with the wood pellet underneath, that's already super squidgy. So what I'll do is I'll get the other bale of Easibed and make the layers a bit deeper, ready for the week. So that's 3 bales, not 2 bales, I've used this week to set this bed up. So I will see you in a bit after I've mucked out. Hi, so we've just mucked out. I'm a little bit OCD with my poop, and I know there's a lot of us out there. I don't really like the fact that there's loads of bits all in the bed. Basically, it's taken me a lot slower because I've had to take more deliberate scoops as I shook the Easibed off the fork. Most of the poop disintegrated and went back through the fork. So I quite like my beds to be as clean as possible, so I'm a little bit OCD about it. But you know, that's the same with the pellets sometimes. Just gotta live with it. And again with the Aubiose, just noticed it a lot more today. Hopefully when the Easibed settled, I'll hopefully be able to do a muck out quicker. As I say, I'm still getting used to reusing it. We've used it before, but obviously just takes a while to get used to it again. I'm going to have to throw the banks up like I do with the Easibed, because like I said, some of the poop just fell through the fork, so I'm going to need to pick that up in larger chunks on its own, if I can. So it's going to take me a little bit longer than the wood pellets, and although I was going to try and keep the bed separate, I am actually going to mix them together now, just to make my life a lot easier, so I haven't got to worry about what's mixed with what. So I'm merrily mixing the wood pellet banks in with the Easibed, and then I'll put the bed back down later. I was going to leave the wet patch, but having opened the top up and looked a bit further, I've got roughly a 3x2 fork width of wet from the underlaying wood pellet that's going to have to come out. So I'll fill that with Easibed. I'll put the other bale down and we'll see how the wet fares better with the Easibed. So that's only from the weekend, and we're going to have to take that out now because it's absolutely saturated. So we're coming into the Aubiose bed on Monday morning, and this one's had a party as well. So all mushed in, all over the place, both sides mushed in, all mushed in. Don't know, psychologically, I think of this one as a little bit easier to muck out, but I don't know whether that's because I've been mucking it out over the last week, or whether it just looks like you can scoop the poop off the top. He hasn't hidden a lot of it this time. I don't know whether that's because I haven't put an extra bale in this week. That could be one reason. There's older bed on the base now. Maybe it's not as fluffy and easy to scuff over the poop after he's done it. Don't know. Not sure about that one. So a lot of the poop is on the top compared to last week. but I don't think it'll take me much longer to muck out than it has been doing. As I said, for some strange reason, that one doesn't look as daunting as next door does. Maybe because next door was nice and clean and I just didn't want it to look dirty. So we'll see how we go. So although this looked pretty disgusting to attempt to muck it out, it actually was really quite easy. It literally was just a case of scraping it all off the top and then throwing up the banks to get the excess. There is a small wet patch forming here, but nothing's coming through. It's not squidgy to my foot, so that's staying down. I'll pull the banks back down again. Obviously now a little bit of the wood pellet is still left mixed in, not a lot, and the Aubiose is now a lot darker. Now it's settled. One thing I noticed is the hay was easier to scrape off the top. Now the Aubiose is settled, which is great because I can recycle that and it won't get stuck in the bed so much. Hopefully when I put a new bag down it won't get stuck in, but certainly today I noticed it was a lot easier to scrape off the top. So the one thing I have noticed is the bed hasn't moved so much. Alfie's has been lying down quite a bit. He's got all the bedding dust all over him to quickly flick off today. But I've noticed that now it's settled, it's not moving so much and getting scuffed forward. The one thing I was thinking about was, obviously I know the wood pellets can packed into a nice layer. I was just worried that the Aubiose and Easibed type beds would just fly straight out the door, get scuffed out the door, and we're straight onto an outdoor yard, which is a bit of a nightmare to sweep up. But now the bed is settled, it's actually quite easy to use. It's staying put, managing to just rake off the hay into the corner, which is quite nice, rather than originally it was sort of getting stuck in. But I think now that we've got a better base and it's staying put, he's not scuffing it into the hay, so it's easier to pick it out, and anything that's on the bed I'm managing to scrape straight off the top at the moment. So this little wet patch that's forming here isn't coming through, it's not squidgy to touch. That I am leaving. And so Monday Aubiose, although it looked quite horrible to start with, it was quite easy to muck out. My my wheelbarrow muck is a little bit larger than when it was plain wood pellets and plain Aubiose. So I've definitely taken out a bit more bedding with the Easibed and the Aubiose. The wheelbarrow is about another quart. So as you can see, a little bit more bedding has come out from these two today compared to the other beds, but that's fine. Obviously the good thing is the Aubiose is getting sort of surrounded by the poop, so when he lies on it, he's not lying on the poop. The Aubiose is soaking up the wet of the poop, so the rugs and the horse are actually still a lot cleaner. So taking a little bit more bedding out on, mixed onto the poop is not the end of the world, as long as you don't take a vast amount out. So yes, the wheelbarrow is a little bit fuller, but I say there's benefits to that as well. And just outside is the wet from the corner I took out in the wood pellets bed. So although there's not a lot, there's only a bucket full I've taken out, it was quite wet and squidgy and needed to come out today.